All right, here is one of the last parts of our automata build. So today we are going to be putting in our cams as well as our guides and our leads. So I'm going to start off by putting our cams in place. And with this, we need to be able to access the axle. So right now it's really hard to grab it because we have the bushing and the handle base in place. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. I'm just going to hide that. I'm just going to hide this bushing. So you can either right click on here and then select hide, or you can find it up on the left side here and do it that way. Now that that's available, now I'm going to insert all the parts that I need. All right, so I'm going to insert here my two cams, my eccentric cam and my hex cam. And then up top, I'm going to need my two guides. And then I'm going to need my leads. So now all that is in place. I'm going to first by starting getting my cams in place. So my cams, just like I did my axle and my handle, right? We are going to fasten these to the axle. Since this one bushing is in a revolute, all of this, since it's going to be connected and fastened together, will act as one. So I'm going to fasten my pieces in here. I'm going to start with my hex cam, right? We want to just grab the face somewhere, hold shift, and then I'm going to grab one of these edges since I'm putting it onto my axle. And then I'm going to zoom in on that axle, find the center of it, hold down shift, and grab one of the other edges. Now you might have to turn it around a little bit in order for it to get into spot. But notice, we want our cam on the outside. No. So we're going to have to do something called the offset, where we're going to have to push it down. And notice what direction my little axes are in, right? Y, X, right? We need it to be pushed along the axle here. So we're going to have to move it in the Z direction. So with that, right, we can just toss it 1 inch. We notice it doesn't go in the right direction. So we're going to say -1. And we need to first check, all right, we need to get it lined up with this. So I'm just going to make sure I'm nice and square. And well, we got some work to do. So I'm going to say -1.5. And that's looking better. I'm going to say -1.6. To get a good, nice view, we can go from the top and we can see that that is pretty good up in here. So we'll just do a little bit more just to get it pretty much right in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect, all right, because our mates are going to handle the rest of that. I'm going to hit my green check mark, and now we'll see our cam is in place. I'm going to repeat that process for my second cam here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shift, I'm going to grab. Now you may have to work around and pick some different sides until you get the right orientation of the cams so that you have the right motions that you want. So I'm going to come in here, shift and grab. I'm going to move this around a little bit. And right here, I'm starting at the top, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to grab a different portion of my cam here. So let's try that one again. So I'm going to go fasten mate. I'm going to grab this edge this time around. I'm going to zoom back in. And then we're going to reorient. And there we go. So all I did is I went and grabbed the opposite face that I grabbed the first time around. So instead of starting at its high point, I'm going to be starting at its low point. Same thing, I'm going to offset. We're going to check the axis. It's the Z axis that I need to push through. We got to push it a little bit farther this time around. So I started off with -3.5. Let's go a little bit more. Let's check that. And if I go to my top view, we can see that is nice right in the middle. So my cams are now in place. I'm going to go back to that base and I'm going to unhide it, which it'll probably be nicer if I do it this way. We can just click the eye and there we go. Now we can check to make sure that all of that is working as one before we move forward. So that revolute command, I'm going to hit animate and then you can hit the check. Right? Notice how it is all moving as one piece. My cams are attached to that axle and moving with it, which is exactly what we want. Now the next part is going to be my bushings up top as well as my leads. So my bushings, these guides up top, we don't want those things to move. So those are going to be fastened into place. right? I want to bring my bushing, my guide, right into place. So I want to grab this inside edge, right? Because I want to align it to that smaller circle. This big part is going to be sitting on top. So we want to make sure we grab that inside ring, and then we grab the inside ring there, and we're going to just flip our axis so it is in place. We don't want that to move. And now I'm going to repeat the process with this one here. Flip it, put it into place. So those should not move, which is exactly what we see there. Now, the next part is going to be our leads. These are going to have to move up and down. So it's not going to be a revolute. We don't want them going in circles. We want them moving up and down. So here we are going to be using our slider mate. And for our slider mate, we need to do that from our top view here. So we want to start by grabbing just one of these edges from that top view, right? Make sure we grab the square face, not the bottom rounded piece, because that bottom rounded piece is what goes on our cam. And now I'm just going to grab it over here and put it into place. Before we hit the green check mark, I do want to hit animate the degrees. We want to see what direction it moves in. That's why I grabbed that top face, because we want it to move up and down. And I'm going to show you why we need to grab that top face. So if I do that slider mate again on the next one, right, a lot of times we might think, oh, I want it sliding up and down, so I want this piece to slide on that face. But what that does is it attaches those two together and it wants it to slide in that same direction, which that's not the movement we want. So we want it to be moving up and down. So I grab it from the top and then I'm going to grab that edge, animate my degrees, and it moves up and down. But when I look at this, well, my lead is going through my piece. We don't want that. We don't want that going through my cam. So we have one more thing that we have to do, and then our box is going to be complete. So the last part that I want is I want these things touching, right? I always want my lead touching my cam. So that is going to be our tangent mate. So the tangent just keeps these things in contact. And that is why we rounded these bottoms. And whenever we have our cams have to have soft edges. So if you have rough edged cams, in Onshape, it's not going to like that contact. It needs a smooth transition. So make sure that if you do have something sharp, just do a small little fillet like I did here for the hex cam. So now I want to tangent the lead to my cam, and I'm going to hit my green check mark. And for some reason, we are not. All right, quick pause. Now we're back. Sorry, one thing was a little wrong, but we fixed it. So I just deleted that tangent mate. For some reason, the first time it did not like it. So we're just going to go in here, tangent mate, grab that rounded edge, grab that top face, and then I'm going to hit my check mark. Now that these are all one, notice how they are trying to move together. So last but not least, I'm just going to Control Z, put that back into its initial spot, and I'm just going to tangent mate that part to my eccentric cam. Notice how it dragged that cam down because I grabbed that first. And it's all good. The last thing I want us to do is just animate it. Make sure it all works as one. So I'm going to animate that revolute. I'm going to hit my green check mark and look at my cams and my leads working together all as one. And there you go. You've completed putting all of your automata together besides the fancy stuff up top.